Have you ever felt like your mind was covered in a layer of fog? Waking up in the morning with a heavy head, struggling to focus, and noticing your memory isn't as sharp as it used to be? Many of my patients come to me with the same complaints. They often assume it's just a normal sign of aging. But I usually smile and tell them, no, that's your brain sending you a signal. Don't ignore it. Our brain makes up only about 2% of our body weight, yet it consumes up to 20% of the oxygen we breathe. That means it needs a steady, strong flow of blood to function. Even the slightest slowdown in this flow can cause nerve cells to cry out for help. I want you to imagine this. It's like a big city losing power for just a few seconds. Chaos happens instantly. The brain is the same. Just a few seconds without enough blood is enough to cause trouble. I remember a patient named John, 62 years old. He came to see me because he often felt dizzy, forgetful, and kept misplacing small things like his keys. He thought it was just natural aging. But when I examined him, I found his blood was too thick and the tiny vessels in his brain had hardened. We started with very simple changes: drinking a glass of warm water every morning, taking a brisk 10-minute walk after dinner, and adding ginger and garlic to his meals. Just 3 months later, John came back and said, "Doctor, my mind feels so much clearer. I feel as sharp as I did at 40." You see, many of us look for brain supplements, collagen, or expensive products. But the truth is, blood, the silent current running through our body, is the greatest nourishment for our brain and our youth. When blood doesn't circulate well, our skin looks dull, our memories slip, and our mind feels sluggish. But when blood flows smoothly and oxygen floods every brain cell, you feel sharper, more agile, and more youthful. I often advise my patients to practice small, consistent habits. A simple forward bend in the morning, stretching muscles while sending more blood to the brain. A few minutes of deep breathing outdoors, letting fresh air fill the brain with oxygen. And never underestimate a deep night's sleep, because it's during sleep that the brain washes away the toxins built up during the day. Have you ever woken up after a good night's sleep feeling like your mind was refreshed? That's the power of proper blood and oxygen flow. I also want to mention a habit many people overlook: sugar. Most think sugar only affects weight or diabetes, but in reality, sugar causes inflammation and damages the tiny blood vessels in the brain. Eating too much sugar is like slowly choking the blood flow to your brain, bringing aging much sooner. Science has proven that if blood flow to the brain drops below 10 milliliters per 100 grams per minute, nerve cells suffer irreversible damage. That may sound technical, but to me, it simply means this: we cannot afford to neglect our daily habits. A little stress, one sleepless night, or even skipping a glass of water, all of it affects the brain more than we realize. I often compare life to a garden. The brain is the great tree, and blood is the water that nourishes it. You don't need to flood it, just water it steadily every day. Then you'll see the tree grow strong, green, and full of fruit for years to come. So if you're listening to me right now, I encourage you to start tomorrow. Drink a glass of warm water when you wake up. Take a deep breath outside your door. And in the evening, instead of sitting on the couch, take a 10-minute walk. These small, simple acts are the keys to a clear mind, lasting memory, and a spirit that stays young with time. There's something fascinating that many of my patients don't expect. Mental clarity doesn't just come from pills or advanced medical treatments. It begins with very ordinary choices. I remember a woman named Linda, 58 years old, who had worked as an accountant her whole life. She came to me worried that her calculations had become slower and she was forgetting numbers. For someone whose job depends on precision, this was terrifying. When I asked about her lifestyle, she admitted, "I sit all day, I eat in a rush, and I rarely exercise." Instead of rushing to medication, we started by reshaping her daily rhythm. I encouraged her to stand up every hour, walk a few steps, drink more water, and include more leafy greens and berries in her meals, foods that keep blood vessels flexible and packed with antioxidants. 6 months later, Linda returned and told me, "I feel like my brain has become younger. Numbers flow through my head faster, and I'm so much more confident at work." This convinced me even more. Brain aging is not destiny. It's the result of how we nourish it every single day. Have you ever wondered why some people at 70 still read, write, and think clearly, while others at 50 already feel their mind is fading? The difference lies in how they keep blood flowing fresh to the brain. Another essential factor is movement. You don't need to become an athlete, just steady walking, a bit of yoga, or simple stretches. Movement makes the heart pump stronger, blood vessels more elastic, and the brain richer in oxygen. I had a patient, Robert, 65 years old. He hated exercise, but after nearly fainting from poor brain circulation, he decided to change. He started by walking slowly around his house, then increased little by little. A year later, he proudly told me, "I'm not just walking briskly, I can hike light trails now, and my memory is so much sharper." That's the reward of persistence. Beyond movement, diet is the foundation. Think of your blood vessels as tiny rivers winding through your brain. Pour in too much saturated fat and sugar, and those rivers clog and slow down. But feed them with leafy greens, berries, and omega-3 rich nuts like walnuts, almonds, and flax seeds, and the vessels stay flexible and clear, nourishing your brain better. Science shows that a Mediterranean diet, rich in vegetables, fish, and olive oil, can reduce dementia risk by up to 30%. Another overlooked key, breathing. It sounds simple, but the way we breathe directly affects brain blood flow. Shallow, rushed breathing means less oxygen in the blood. Deep, steady breathing makes oxygen-rich blood reach every brain cell. I often teach patients a simple practice. Close your eyes, inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 2, then exhale slowly for 6. Just a few minutes a day and they feel lighter, less stressed. Would you like to try it right now? Sleep also plays a critical role. I had a younger patient, only 42, working in tech. He often stayed up late, slept little, and complained of poor memory and mental fog. Tests showed his brain was overloaded, lacking rest to clear toxins. We think of sleep as wasted time, but in truth, it's when the brain cleanses, repairs, and organizes memories. Not sleeping enough is like letting your office pile up with messy papers without ever filing them. After he changed his routine and got 7 hours of sleep, within weeks he noticed the difference. Another factor I cannot overlook is emotion. Chronic stress narrows blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and makes circulation to the brain heavy and strained. I once treated a man in his 50s with a high-pressure job. He suffered constant headaches and insomnia. Only when he learned to relax, spending time with family, walking, listening to music, did his blood flow feel lighter. Perhaps you felt it too. One smile, one peaceful evening, and suddenly your mind feels brighter. That's no coincidence. It's your brain being nourished in peace. You know, after more than 30 years in medicine, I've realized, keeping the brain sharp isn't a grand race, but a series of small, repeated choices. A glass of water, a night's sleep, a hug, a walk. Together, they create a steady flow that carries us gracefully through the years. So I want to ask you, will you let your memory, clarity, and vitality fade with age? Or will you nurture them day by day with small actions that hold great power? You know, the longer I practice medicine, the more I realize a simple truth. Brain health doesn't come from a magic pill. It comes from the small choices we repeat every single day. A glass of warm water in the morning, a quick stretch after sitting too long, a simple meal rich in vegetables and low in sugar, a deep breath of fresh air outside your window. I want you to imagine this. Your brain is like a garden. If it gets sunlight, water, and nutrients every day, the flowers stay green and full of life. But if you neglect it, let the weeds grow, let the soil dry out, the garden slowly fades. Blood flow to the brain is that life-giving water, and only you can decide whether to nourish it. I remember once a patient asked me, "Doctor, is it too late for me to start?" He was over 70, his memory was fading, and he often felt dizzy. I looked at him and said, "It's never too late. Every day you choose to walk, every day you choose to sleep well, every day you choose to eat healthy, that's a day you're planting new seeds for memory and clarity." A year later, he returned with a smile that looked younger than his age. And I believe you can do the same. Whether you're in your 30s, 40s, or already past 60, your brain still has the ability to recover if you nurture it the right way. The question is, are you willing to start today? Science has shown that people who care for their brain circulation by sleeping well, exercising, eating healthy, and keeping a calm mind live longer, remember better, and most importantly, enjoy more precious moments with family and friends. Have you ever seen the sparkle in a parent's eyes when they remember their child's birthday? Or the joyful smile of a grandparent as they tell an old story without forgetting the details? Those are priceless moments, and they all begin with how you care for your brain today. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Value the little things, repeat them every day, because they will nourish your memory, your clarity, and your joy of living. And if you feel my message today resonates with you, I invite you to stay with me for the long journey. On this channel, I'll continue to share knowledge, real patient stories, and practical tools, all to help you keep your brain and health strong. So if you haven't yet subscribed, take a second to hit that button now. It's not just a way to stay updated with new videos. It's how we build a community, a place where each of us learns to live healthy, live clear-minded, and live joyfully. Because in the end, health isn't just about living long, it's about living fully, every moment with clear memory, a peaceful soul, and a heart full of love. Thank you for giving me your precious time today. Remember, every heartbeat, every breath, every drop of blood flowing to your brain, it's all a gift to help you write the next chapter of your life. And I hope to see you again in the next videos so we can keep the garden of the brain alive and flourishing no matter how many years pass.